As you can see behind me, we're gathered here today in front of the Senate building to protest and to ask for the international community, but the Senate here in Washington, D.C. specifically, to pass S 3199. I've spoke to multiple protesters here, and they have a few things to say, so let's take a listen to that.
My name is Moazagide.
As you can see in the background, it's saying 500 plus days of Tigray genocide. Today is the last day to support S 3199, and we're here to make sure that bill is passed. Could you tell the people what that bill stands for and what it will do for our people?
The bill is very broad in its scope, and it covers a whole lot of things. But the most important thing is, if this bill passes, the U.S. government would impose targeted economic and diplomatic sanctions, not only on the Ethiopian and Eritrean government, but also on individuals that have been playing an active role in the Tigray genocide. In addition to that, it would also force the Ethiopian government to provide unfettered and unrestricted humanitarian corridor to Tigray. In addition to that, it would also give mechanisms to bring about accountability and justice for the survivors of the Tigray genocide.
Well, firstly, thank you so much for joining me.
Luam Lu'ul. I grew up in Seattle. I live in D.C. and my family's from Aksum. So today the Senate is voting on the bill S 3199. It's the Peace and Stabilization Act in Ethiopia, to put pressure on them to apply sanctions, to put pressure on them to open access, to bring peace to Ethiopia, and to have genuine negotiations. So to end the war, to end the genocide that's happening in Tigray now.
My name is Arcee. I'm from Washington, D.C. We Tigrayan Americans, myself included, as a first-generation American, are trying to urge the United States Senate to pass Senate Bill 3199. This bill ensures security and accountability in Ethiopia, but for the people of Tigray, it could provide immediate relief in the form of ending the siege and increasing humanitarian aid. So we want the Senate to pass this bill today without any amendments, without any delay, because millions and millions of Tigrayan lives are at risk.
There has been opposition pushing the denial of this bill. For the senators that might actually listen to the opposition, what would that message be for them?
Well, what I would say is, healthy, skepticism is normal. And Tigrayans are a numeric minority, and so it may seem as though our voice has been outnumbered by the louder Ethiopian majority diaspora and the Eritrean diaspora. However, that's also a part of genocide. Denial is a part of genocide, and they are denying what's happening to our people in Tigray and throughout Ethiopia, because Tigrayans throughout Ethiopia are being persecuted. Even the Tigrayan refugees in Sudan are being persecuted. And so what I would say is, it's fine to be skeptical, but you need to ask yourself, what is Ethiopia hiding? Why have they blocked the phone access to Tigray? Why have they blocked the internet access to Tigray? Every other Ethiopian can call their family in Ethiopia right now and say hello, except for Tigray. What are they hiding in Tigray? That's what they need to ask themselves. Meet with members of the Tigrayan community. They'll tell you, they'll be like, I haven't heard any relative's voice. Even myself, I have cousins in Mekelle. I would love to chit-chat with them. They speak perfect English. I could pick up the phone and call them pre this war, but not anymore. So I'd ask the U.S. Senate, be skeptical, but also recognize that there is an aggressive, evil agenda against Tigray, and those are the voices you're hearing every day that are opposing this bill.
Not long ago, we have seen them protesting the involvement of the U.S. government in the process of stopping the Tigray genocide. We have seen them how they have been calling for any and every international actor not to involve in internal matters of the Ethiopian government, because according to them, a genocide is an internal matter. And yet you see them here protesting not only against the bills, but also asking the U.S. government to support what they deem to be productive actions that are being taken by the Ethiopian government. So the hypocrisy is really mind-boggling. But what I want them to ask themselves is really, what are they fighting for? Are they fighting for the starvation of innocent people? Because that's exactly what opposing these two bills means. When you oppose the S 3199 and HR 6600, what you're in effect saying is that let the Ethiopian government continue to exterminate the people of Tigray. Let the Ethiopian and Eritrean troops rape the Tigrayan women. Let the Eritrean and Ethiopian as well as Amhara militia massacre the Tigrayan people with impunity. As a human being, are these things that you want to advocate? because their children are going to watch everything they're doing today, and somewhere down the line in history, they would ask them, why would you advocate for such kind of evil things? So while their hypocrisy is quite staggering, but I also want them to ask the very basic questions. When they advocate against these two bills, they're advocating against the safety and protection as well as well-being of innocent people. So I just want them to ask that to themselves. And if they're fine with the answer they will find, then that will clearly show us that these people are not human beings, but evil creatures that have been justifying the burning of a human being alive.
I mean, it's honestly, it's heartbreaking. Like, we have been screaming at the top of our lungs for the last 511 days. We've been fighting. We know they know what's happening. So to see no action for this long, I mean, it makes you wonder, what's the difference? Why don't our lives matter? I mean, we feel for the people of Ukraine. We really do, because it's happened to us for much longer, for generations, actually. We know how it feels to have your identity erased, to have your land invaded. And for that to be happening in your own country, for your own people to turn on you in that way is heartbreaking. But to have the whole world know that it's happening and to also do nothing is even more heartbreaking. So we're really holding on to hope here. We're out here. It's freezing. My mouth, it's really hard to talk right now. It's like 20-something degrees. But we're here and we're fighting, because if we don't fight for our people, no one will. And you know, our own peers, like throughout Ethiopia, Tigrayans throughout Ethiopia, they're not able to stand up and fight either. So we're here fighting on their behalf too.
Thank you so much for joining me. Can we just start with your name and where you're from?
I'm Chandra Dawson. I'm originally from California and New York and many places, but I'm currently in Maryland.
Well, let me start with saying thank you so much for your allyship. We need more allies in this community. For you to be here on the forefront with us, we couldn't have asked for anything more, but then for you to stand up and use your words to even help us fight against this ongoing genocide, we couldn't be more grateful. So thank you for that. For you, what is a genocide mean to you? You've experienced, like you said in your speech, multiple different types of genocides from all over the world and all over the globe. What does a genocide mean to you?
A genocide to me means when one group of people has formed a concerted, calculated effort to destroy another people and their culture and their heritage and their history off the face of the earth. To me, that kind of hatred, that level of hatred, has to be stopped immediately if the intent is shown. If it's voiced, that's the cutoff date. Not let's see how far they get, let's see how many people they kill before we understand they really mean it. Just to express that kind of intent. I can't understand why any powerful nation with the capability of ending that wouldn't do it.
What is a message for the international community, for their action for Europe, but in action in Africa?
The actions taken by the members of international community in the wake of the Ukraine invasion has clearly showed us that human lives doesn't matter. The international relations is now only about political interests and economic interests and not necessarily about protecting human lives. If members of the international community want us to believe otherwise, and if they want us to continue believing that there is an international human rights law to be upheld, that the intergovernmental organizations, the governments care about international order, peace and security, and they ought to take the same action against the Tigray genocide and bring stability and safety to the people. Otherwise, everything that has been taken so far is just yet another reminder that black lives do not matter, but at the same time that it's not about human beings, but about political and economic interests.
Thank you so much.
Well, sure. I mean, there's nothing wrong with supporting people who are being persecuted in any part of the world. As many people have acknowledged, there are a lot of conflicts happening everywhere, in Yemen, in Syria, in Ukraine. And so we can't be naive and act like Tigray is the only problem. But we've been under siege for 15 months. And the Ethiopian government has continuously been dishonest with the international community and said, oh, nothing's happening. First they said nothing's happening. There are no Eritrean troops in Tigray. Then they said, oh, yeah, there are. Then they said, we had a unilateral ceasefire. No, they didn't. And then last week they just said, we have a humanitarian ceasefire. No, they didn't. And so all I'm saying is you can handle each country's crisis with special care. And the Tigrayan issue, Tigrayans aren't asking for much. They're not asking for money. They're not asking for arms. They're not asking for peacekeepers. They're asking to be able to govern themselves and survive. That's all they're asking for. Well, this was obviously a ploy. This humanitarian truce was a ploy by Ethiopia to stall. They've been stalling and buying time since this war started. They've really been buying time since June 2021, when they declared a phony unilateral ceasefire, when the TDF, the Tigray Defense Forces, re-entered Mekelle, the capital of Tigray. And we knew, we were aware, but we said, all right, let's go through the motions and see if Ethiopia actually keeps its promise this time. And they're not. They're not. And so what we have is an entire region where people can't get health care. We have 120,000 rape victims who haven't gotten adequate medical treatment. Some of them are expecting, pregnant with their rapist baby, and they can't even get adequate treatment. We have older people dying. We have people dying with chronic conditions such as diabetes, HIV, cancer, kidney dialysis patients who can't get treatment. And we're just being told to hang on and be patient. And we've been trying, and it's not working.
I can't put on camera what I want to say, what I really want to say to them. To the international community, I would say we've already done this. We've already expressed shame and horror and the humiliation of living with having sat aside and watching this happen. The international community has been in this seat before. And all I can say is, get up already. We've already done this. We know the right thing to do. Let's not do it too late again.
The biggest thing I think to note here is that the American government knows exactly what's happening in Tigray. Within the first few months of the war, they even said ethnic cleansing is happening in Ethiopia. So they know what's happening. But the difference is that they need pressure on them. I need us to let them know that we won't accept inaction anymore. I mean, the world stood up for Ukraine. That's why the U.S. immediately also stood up for Ukraine. They need to know that we're here and that we need peace. They're in here. They actually even said that we're being too loud, that they're not able to focus on their work. We ask you guys, you're not able to focus on your work. Our families are starving to death right now. So we're sorry, but we need you to hear our message.
Because I've been a political activist for a long time, and again, I've just been in this situation before, and it's hard to live in a powerful country, a wealthy country, a quote-unquote advanced and developed country. But when it comes to the moral stance, when it comes to the righteous stance, we fail every time. And I just, as an American citizen, I want to make the international community aware, as I'm sure there's other people and citizens aware in other countries, that the government doesn't represent the American people who do stand with indignity and injustice and are fighting our government to do the right thing, to humble itself, and to remember that we're not a greater people if we can't protect the lesser people. As for the people who don't pass it, they know. We know who they are. All I can do is say this reflects on us as a country and as a people. We have to stop thinking of the U.S. as simply an empire. It is a country like any other. And with the means and capabilities we have to give aid, to be able to intimidate other countries. If there's any time to be intimidating and powerful, it's now against Prime Minister Ahmed's government. What irritates me is that the people who would stand against it, it wouldn't even take a lot to be for it. So what do you want me to do with that? Do you know what I mean? If you're against it, what it would take to pass that law is nothing. What happens if you don't? Pass that bill. What happens if you don't is so great that there's no forgiveness. I know there's no forgiveness to take one step. I can't.
For fear of reprisal, of course, the people in Ethiopia and Addis, the capital, can't really do anything. But if you had a message for Tigrayans in Addis Ababa and Tigrayans in the north that could possibly see this and hear your message, what would that be?
My message to them is that we will never stop fighting for you. I mean, we're here and we're going to make sure the world takes action, and we're going to make sure that the world knows what's happening. So, we promise.
Tigrai Tser, thank you so much for joining me.
About the people of Tigray, there's a Holocaust happening right now, Senator Cruz.
And for our people that are back home, whether that's in the capital, that still, at the end of the day, can't fight the fight for fear of reprisal, and for the people in the north that are currently completely cut off from society, what is the message you have for them?
Yes, I'd like to give a heartfelt message to Tigray throughout Ethiopia. My own grandmother, Aragash, currently lives in Addis Ababa. She's 91 years old. I hope she sees this. I also hope my cousins in Mekelle see this. And I'd like to say to all Tigray, I'm so sorry this is happening to you. I'm one of you. I'm so sorry this is happening. You didn't deserve this. I know you guys are God-fearing people, and I know you guys believe God is going to get you through this, but you didn't deserve this. I'm so proud of you guys for showing your resilience and bravery and love. I can't wait to come to Tigray one day and see you guys. I'm one of you, even though I'm all the way here in D.C. And I love you. I love you, Tigray. Thank you for being strong. Thank you, TDF, for protecting your sisters, protecting your moms, protecting your senior citizens, protecting your elders, protecting your people. And just, Tigray, just hang in there, please. Just hang in there.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate it. It was nice to meet you. For all of you that have been tuned in to Weledoy's episode for this week, the hopes look high. We're going in the right direction, but we have so much fight left. So for all of you at home, make sure you call your senators, especially to the states in the South. Make sure you call your senators and help HR 6600 to come to fruition. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.